Tower Grove family. I'm Steve Brewer, one of the elders at Tower Grove. And John Chung had asked some of us to put together our thoughts and how we're praying and processing through these days here in St. Louis. So I just wanted to send a quick email or a video rather to kind of just tell you what God's doing in my heart and in my life. And this has been just a difficult time all the way back to March, for all of us, and trying to understand how to stay connected and to be, a church family and continue to serve one another when we can't physically be together is difficult. And I think something that has been challenging to everyone. And certainly the Lord has used that to press in on me and to help identify some idolatry in my life and some things that I was putting confidence in that weren't true. And then about the time that we can get a little breath of air and feel like things are sort of going back to some kind of normal, this horrible event happens in Minneapolis, and then all of the repercussions that happen out of that. And I think the way that I'm processing, it's really a couple of things. One, just really sad. My wife and I had a chance to go down on Monday and walk with the protesters on Highway 64, and I found myself just walking through there, just praying for these young people and people of color that were just struggling, trying to find hope and trying to find some sense of where do they belong and how can this injustice go on for so long, and how can the culture and the society be so deaf to their suffering. And so that was a really moving event for me to just be in that group. And then, of course, that evening was just the horrible shootings downtown, and just all the tearing at the very fabric of what God is trying to do in our city and in our lives. And just to see that horrible, wake up the next morning and see 4 policemen shot and a man killed, and I just found myself thinking, wow, as I was walking down the streets with those very people, and some of whom certainly were in that riot. So it's just a really hard time to process through that, but ultimately just deep sadness. The second thing I think is a sense of empathy and compassion for my brothers and sisters of color. I especially am just torn to hear mothers talk about how they are afraid for their sons and their daughters, and when they get pulled over by the police, or when they find themselves in a situation that they have to confront authority, that they know that they're powerless in that situation, and the anger and the fear and the terror that a mom must feel when that's her experience proven out over and over and over again, not only in real life, but now on the news. And so that's just been really hard, and just to walk through that empathy and that sort of compassion with them. But then finally, as I pray and I seek the Lord, and my wife and I pray together, I hear Jesus saying, in the world you're going to have trouble, but I've come, and through me you overcome the world. And so I think there is a sense of peace and a sense of hope, not through that our government is going to change, although we all pray for that, not through some sense of justice that comes from the hand of man, although we trust that God is going to deliver that to us. But ultimately, the peace that we seek is a peace that doesn't come from this world. It's not resident here, and it can't be corrupted by the things that corrupt justice in our culture. So I would just encourage you in these times just to mourn and be sad, to come alongside and be empathetic and compassionate, and then to put your confidence and trust in Jesus and in the kingdom that he brings, because in that kingdom, which has no end, there is ultimate justice. There is ultimate clarity. He says those things that are done in secret will be brought out into the light. And that's what we hope for. That's what we trust in. And we put all our confidence in him. So we love you. I love you guys. It's such an honor to serve this church. And I just continue to pray for you, and continue to pray your safety, and also that God will move in your hearts to show you what he's doing in these days.